Conditioning. I'm here to bring you another controversial video with Marvel. Yes, sir. How we have here is a very divided statement set of events. I don't know. But we mostly have the events going on here with Marvel having a trailer leak, and some people that have seen Avatar, something blah blah blah, and Ash, they've seen seemingly Captain Rogers, right, return back into the forefront of the MCU. Alright, I was adding this in since before I finished the video, we had a teaser trailer, whatever, come out for Avengers Doomsday, and I mean, it just adds more context to the article that I'm gonna read, or already recorded, whatever. It makes sense in the whole scheme of the video, but I thought I would add this in first, so that way we have some context as to why some fans are divided, and we'll even look at some of the comments in the trailer, because yeah, it's slowly about to get ratioed, and the amount of people that are unhappy with Steve Rogers coming back is pretty big. But you know, you can only blame Marvel. For perfect example of this is when a character has a perfect send-off, or has their story basically finished, fulfilled, and then ends up coming back much later, and it kind of ruins that whole emotional attachment you grew with them. And you know, you're gonna ruin that emotional attachment just to try and get some excitement or all the characters back, whatever. That's kind of what you get with this. You know, you had that happen with Logan, and then you had him appear in Deadpool and Wolverine. And while I do agree Hugh Jackman plays a good Wolverine, and very well, it was a good addition to Deadpool, it kind of shits on a bit of his story that he had, and you're kind of getting that with Steve Rogers now. So let's just look at the trailer, and then we'll look at some comments, and then I will go back to the regular stuff of the article that I was reading. So let's see. Let me make sure can I play the audio? Will I play the audio? I don't think I'll be in trouble if I play the audio. So fuck it, we'll play the audio. I mean, it's just the Avengers thing kind of tuned in, whatever. So yeah, there we go. We got the house that we saw Steve Rogers in at the end of Endgame, with Peggy riding on a nice ass motorcycle. Obviously you can tell it's him. He's grabbing his old suit, like, yep, putting it away, and obviously trying to move on with his life after all that stuff with a baby boy. I think it's a baby boy, can only assume based off of the colors, right? He with his baby. Yeah, this has people very much upset. Steve Rogers will return in Avengers Doomsday, and then December, whatever. So yeah, there you go. You got that there. And like I said, real quick, we'll look at some of these comments that we have down below, and you could definitely see the sentiment that people have right now. So, well, they broke the emergency glass. Somehow Steve Rogers returned. They're making fun of the whole Palpatine thing, where he was definitely fucking dead. And then in, what was it, Rise of Skywalker, they basically say, and somehow Palpatine returned, with no explanation given, which literally didn't have any. Marvel went full circle before realizing they will have to milk Tony and Cap for the next decade to make money, which is another thing. Since Endgame, the amount of Marvel movies that have made money is a total of 2. which was No Way Home. And also, that doesn't count technically because Sony made the money for that one. And the other one being Deadpool and Wolverine. I think there was another one in there possibly, but I can't remember because most of them failed really bad by how much their budget was ballooned. How genuinely creatively bankrupt of them, lol. The only way they can do a movie with it bringing back characters whose stories ended. Yep, Marvel is desperate. The teaser. Yeah, a lot of people are just calling it for what it is, right? Marvel peaked at Infinity War and died after Endgame. Couldn't be more true. Avengers Desperation coming 2026. Thanks for undoing his perfect conclusion, guys. Again, that is pretty much where that sentiment lies, right? Sorry, we messed up, Cap. Please come back, Disney. I think Endgame was a good ending for these characters, and you know, I agree. You know, the way they ended off, as sad as it was for Tony to die, you know, he finally made that sacrifice play, and same thing with Tony. He listened to Tony and decided to have a little slice of life of himself after all the stuff he had been through. So how are they doing these trailers? I don't get that one. Never been less excited. Jesus Christ. That's one possibility. Steve Rogers happy ending doomed the universe. Could be that. Steve Rogers had the absolute perfect ending, and I don't think they could have done it any better. The man out of time who missed his chance at love got to go back and live his life. Lived his life. I think they meant to say life, but they put Live with the woman of his dreams. Steve's story still chronologically ended in Endgame. It's just that from his POV, his involvement in Doomsday takes place before he grew old and gave the shield to Sam. Since Sam is in Doomsday, I guess the event of the film are part of the loops, or whatever. Again, that's one concept, but also people just calling it how it is. This is a very desperate move from Marvel to try and regain relevancy and try and make back some money that they have lost out on a bunch of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions, I should say, actually. The more big names they bring back, the more nervous I get. Yeah. Still being a year from release is crazy as F. Pourquoi? That's in French. Why? Let the weakness die. What? But yeah, it's, again, mixed signals right here. You got a few people happy, excited for Cap to return, but majority of the comments have been basically kind of teasing and memeing on the fact that, you know, they already had this story done, and now all of a sudden they're basically going back on their word. But yeah, we'll return back to the regularly scheduled programming. So thank you for that bit. Bye. Which has some / not really the people that I would say spend that much money on Marvel stuff. Fans kind of disappointed and angry for this, but you know, we'll get into the article we have ready for everybody. So, Avengers Doomsday trailer reaction divided over desperate decision to bring back Chris Evans, as fans say move is disrespectful to Anthony Mackie, which I don't think so. Sam Wilson. Again, Captain America is Steve Rogers, and anybody saying otherwise is huffing the copium, right? Because we've already seen it play out in the comics, and it didn't do well. And the multitude of people that kept saying, you know, oh, it's just a different audience, you know, they'll accept it, they'll take this on, blah blah blah, whatever. It turned out to be false, right? You had people introduced to female Thor, and it failed. You had people introduced into Miles Morales, and it's failed. Yes, it has had a continuation as it's gone forward, but has not made nearly the significant ups that Peter Parker Spider-Man has made, right? And as it is, even in his own movie, Miles Morales said he is not Spider-Man, he is Miles Morales. So, take it from the camel's mouth, whatever. And so far and so forth with many other characters where they take on the mantle of another character such as Kate Bishop and whatever, and it just doesn't ever really turn out to be a success. You have Amadeus Cho, is that his name? It's something like that, right? Something Cho takes on the persona / the elements of the Incredible Hulk. And again, none of these characters do nearly as well as the originals. Who would have thought? You change up the character, try and race swap them, gender swap them, and it does not do as well as it should have, because those aren't the characters that were those heroes, right? You have Ironheart, again, another great example where she basically tries to take the mantle of Iron Man after he's already gone, and she just tries to be better than him, just belittles the character and person that is Tony Stark because she's greater than him, right? She's told by her teacher, the teacher says, you can be anything you want. What do you want to be? And she's just like, no, you're supposed to basically talk crap about me and tell me that I can't do this. I won't do that. And so the teacher's like, okay, fine, you can't do anything. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll be Tony Stark. I'll be Iron Man. It's just like, how unlikable it is to create a character like that. And seemingly Marvel has repeated those same decisions that led them into the downward spiral that they have in the comics until into the films. And so now we're in the spot where we're at, where they have to introduce or reintroduce fan favorites just to try and hopefully get some hype going to have people watch the next Avengers film, which has no build-up. The only slight build-up you have is Fantastic Four, where the post-credit scene shows a Doctor Doom-esque character basically right there with Franklin Richards. And that's all you get. But whatever, as we go into the article, Marvel's decision to reintroduce Chris Evans' character Steve Rogers in Marvel's Avengers Doomsday has prompted backlash online, with many fans criticizing the move as a desperate attempt to win back audience at the expense of newer characters. And especially Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson, which again, he was perfect as Falcon. You didn't have to switch him. You could even have Falcon become the leader of the Avengers. You didn't have to have him be some other brand new character or take on the mantle or whatever. Like, we all could have seen as the build-up went forward that Bucky was going to be the character to take upon the mantle of Captain America, at least for a little bit. Because as it is in the comics, he takes up that title for a little bit and then gives it back to Steve Rogers when he returns, right? He never keeps it. He never stays as Captain America. But for whatever reason, you had Marvel thinking, you know what? I think this is a good idea. Let's make Sam Wilson Captain America, and there will be no backlash at all, even though it was a last-minute decision, because all you had of the build-ups of the Captain America movies was Bucky was going to be Captain America, at least for a little bit, as a redemption arc, right? As you saw in the first one, right? He ends up becoming lost, and we don't end up knowing what happens to him. And then Captain America Captain America Winter Soldier, we end up finding out Bucky is alive, and he has been brainwashed by Hydra into doing unspeakable acts, right? Such as killing JFK and other things like that, right? Killing Tony Stark's parents, right? And then moving on into Civil War, right? He's been able to finally relinquish those bonds that he has, because Zemo finally ends up losing the book that had his control, and the keywords that would basically get him to become a sleeper agent are gone, right? But then we move on to the end of Endgame, where last ditch efforts, for whatever reason, they decided, you know what, Sam Wilson Sam Wilson should become the next Captain America. Even though we had the build-up and you had the iconography of Bucky holding up the shield and it looking nice. And guess what? He had the super soldier serum, so it would have made sense for him to be able to do all the incredible acts that Steve Rogers did. No, we're gonna give it to Sam Wilson, a normal person, and he's just gonna work out so incredibly hard that somehow he'll be able to throw the shield just as powerful as Steve Rogers, even though it makes no fucking sense. As you can tell, I don't really agree with all the crap that has been going on with Sam Wilson being Captain America, and I guess I have definitely seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, and I thought it was stupid as hell, especially with the amount of times that Sam Wilson should have died, especially to fighting other super soldiers, and somehow came up on top. And then pitting that with the movie that came out this year, if I'm not mistaken, did come out this year, right? Or was it last year? I know I covered it. Just it's been so fucking long. Right, he fights the Red Hulk and somehow beats him with Talk no Jutsu, right? Pulling a Naruto playbook out of there. No, he should have lost to a fucking Red Hulk. A Hulk that is able to emanate intense heat. Right? Whatever. We're just going to kind of gloss over that fact. Today's Avengers Doomsday trailer, which is available to watch. Oh my god, so many stuff here. To watch now in theaters attached to Avatar Fire and Ash, attempted to confirmed what had previously been leaked, that Marvel has more story to tell features featuring Steve Rogers following what appeared to be a final send-off of the character in Avengers Endgame. One of Endgame's most memorable scenes saw Steve passing on the shield to Sam, physically handing over the mantle again of Captain America to Sam, whatever. Right. One of Endgame's most memorable scenes saw Steve whatever, we saw that already. The MCU keeps on disrespecting Sam Wilson, and I am tired, wrote one of fans on X. It feels like Marvel is belittling Sam Wilson's efforts to prove himself worthy of the shield Steve passed on to him. Added another sharing a clip of Sam training from whatever the Disney Plus series. All I have to say is about Avengers Doomsday is that I will not tolerate the Sam Wilson disrespect. Added another. What is the point? That whole ass movie about exactly this scenario, only for it being going back to Steve, whatever, it's just ultimately just doesn't make sense. And you basically get both sides of the aisle upset. We got people being like, oh, what disrespect you gave Sam as he was supposed to be the new Captain America. And then you have old fans that are just like, well, we could see just how desperate of a move this is for you to try to bring this character back to try and win back favoritism. Just, it's all for naught at this point. It does not really bode well for Marvel when they do such things, because people aren't stupid, people aren't dumb. They can tell and read between the lines of what is trying to be done in said events. But yeah, where the hell is my mouse? And there it is. Yeah, with that being said, though, the stuff that Marvel has tried to pull to try and bring Sam Wilson into relevancy has not really garnered themselves any favoritism, and at this point, it's only made it worse by said events and announcements of the recent trailer, right? You have people coming back, such as Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., I believe Chris Hemsworth is also supposed to be coming back, and he said he was done with Marvel, if not for a good while, and so in the inevitable future. But yeah, that's how it rolls. And with that being said, let me know what you think down below. Does any of this make sense, or is it just seen as a desperate move? Hey, Shinigami signing out. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night, good evening, and good morning. Adios. Bye.